I'm doing good. I'm fresh off of PT, and they gave me some pre-workout, so I'm yipped up on caffeine.
Oh, I love it. Me too. I'm hopped up on caramel corn and caffeine.
Yeah!
Oh, this is going to be good.
It's a good one.
Man, Winter Jam is in like 3.5, 4 weeks, dude. It's coming fast. I mean,
remind me.
It feels weird talking about it. It's like it feels like it just got done, man. But am I right? This is only your second Winter Jam that you've done. Is that right?
Yeah, I did one a couple years ago, and yeah. So this is my second.
That's crazy.
Why is that crazy?
I figured, man. I know it's only your second one, but man, I figured you would have been on Winter Jam like 3, 4 every year. I mean, you blown up, man. I mean, your fans love it. I mean, especially here in Indy, man. I've seen you the last 2 or 3 times you've been here in Indy, and you pack the house every time you're here, man. You always do well here in Indianapolis. You'll be here on the 18th next month, man. But a lot of these cities you come to quite a bit, and how much fun is it going to be in a lot of these cities, but on an arena tour like Winter Jam?
How does it feel to be on an arena?
Yeah, I mean, what's it going to be like for you? Because a lot of times you play a lot of like the ballrooms. Like here in Indy, you do the Egyptian Room and the theater.
Right.
Now you're packing the arenas with Winter Jam, man. I mean, it's a different dynamic than you usually do.
Yeah, playing in arena's fun because it's just like huge production and all that.
Yeah.
But the other weird thing is like because Winter Jam it's basically like a sample platter.
Yeah.
And just like come and listen to a bunch of people. They get small sets, but you get a lot of stuff for the ticket price.
Yeah.
And so they're not all your fans. So
right.
Sometimes you're performing for somebody, and the scope of artists is huge too,
yeah.
right? Like you'll have like just a much older band or something coming on later. So you got the mom in the crowd who's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
She's like, Get this out of here.
Right.
So, you got to work through dealing with them, but then you find your pockets of people that are willing to turn up. Listen, I do it for the kids.
Yeah.
All right? Let me just be honest with you. And I win a mom or two. I win a grandma or two every once in a while.
Right.
So,
yeah, I was talking to John from Skillet about that same thing a couple months ago when their record dropped. And I'm like, man, it's just so much fun to see certain bands on Winter Jam because a lot of times, the older fans, like the moms and the grandmas and the adults, a lot of times they're familiar with maybe the name of a certain artist or maybe like a song or two that like Air One plays that's the softer song. And then to see their faces when certain artists come on and just blow the roof off the place.
Right.
Like, I'm a metalhead and a Christian rap guy, and it is just so much fun to see that. And also to see, like you said, there's a little bit of everything on this tour. So if you don't like CCM, if you're not a praise and worship person, wait around 15, 20 minutes. You'll get something that you do like. It's like a musical buffet. It's like a smorgasbord. There's something for everybody.
Exactly. And for like I think it's like $15 ticket.
Yeah.
Like, at the entry point, it's like it's more meant to be a sampler thing. It's like you can't really be upset.
Exactly.
It's like it's not like you're paying the premium $100 ticket to be like I'm getting 1 hour of it I want. So,
right. Yeah.
That's the thing about it. And playing arenas is fun because there's this huge production and huge stage space.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll jump on a skateboard and scoot around the stage and get around.
Right.
Because you got the room for it.
Right.
So,
yeah, I saw you on the Rock and Worship Roadshow. I think it was like 2013 or 2014 or something like that. Yeah. And oh man, yeah. I mean, I've seen you probably 5, 6, 7 times. I'm freaking pumped for this. But like with a tour like Winter Jam, you talked about the production. Do you with the budget that a Winter Jam has, the production level, do you kind of get a little bit more like to play with on your end? Do you get a chance to go to them and say, you know what, I think I want to do this. Can we make this happen? Stuff that you don't normally get to do.
Yeah, they got a lot more toys out there that you get to play with, which is fun. So like one year, like on that road show, they got like a video team in the back. And I'm like, let's attach a GoPro to my skateboard,
Yeah.
And just go out in the crowd and put people on the big screens. Those are just things that you get a chance to do if you don't have that kind of budget for your own tours, which I'm definitely not an arena artist yet, so.
Soon,
we have fun out there. Yeah. All you need is a song or two to go, and it's game over,
Speaking of that, man, I saw you posted that this year you've almost hit 100 million streams on Spotify without a full-length record releasing. You did the Work in Progress mixtape, which was freaking fire. And you launched the podcast this year too. I think the Work in Progress podcast is, even though it's been 4 years since Uncomfortable, man, you've been busy. You've released EPs, mixtapes, collaborations. I mean, it's been a busy 4 years. But I mean, your fan base to have that many streams without releasing a full-length record in 2019. I mean, as an artist, what does that do to you, and what does that say for you when you see that kind of a stat come out?
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm just grateful, honestly. Because, for anybody to be able to do music for a living, this was my passion as a kid. So, to wake up every day and get to go to the studio or, just, get to do what I want for a living, man, I got zero complaints, and it makes me grateful. But it adds a weird pressure because you don't want to lose it either. And I want to keep doing this. I want to enjoy this life and continue to do this. And what's interesting as an artist who sells music and tickets is it is what it is. It's like you drop a bad album or bad songs or something, and people lose interest, and it can be over. And so it's one of those things where you're like, oh man, don't go back to working. Wherever I worked before. I'm not gonna say nothing because I don't want to, disrespect anybody's job or nothing.
Right.
But you just try not to go backwards, and there's a pressure to that, So
for sure,
you gotta handle it and just be grateful for what you have. And I 100 million listens this year. That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard number to fathom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane, and to put it to sit and think that it's not just music, it's your art, it's the stuff that you put pen to paper on, the stuff that came out of your head and your emotions and your heart and where you've been, to have people connect with it that much. I mean, that's the whole reason that you do what you do. I mean, that's the point.
Wild to think that the music can become a part of someone else's life.
Yeah.
Man, I listen to you every day, or I listen to you on my way to work, or whatever. It's like, geez, that's...
Yeah.
I am to some people what other artists were to me growing up.
Which is crazy to think about, but it's true.
Wild.
I wanted to ask the podcast, the Work in Progress podcast. I mean, the Christian hip-hop and rap right now, I feel like the content level is more real and personal than it ever has been. It always was. But you've got artists like yourself and Lecrae and Tripoli and Tadashi, and there is such a more deeper personal aspect to your guys' music and lyrics. And then to do a podcast like the Work in Progress podcast, how important is it to give fans that extra perspective into your life and your heart that a lot of artists don't really do stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, so I get deemed as a Christian artist most of the time, and I think that just comes with a lot of stigmas, stereotypes, and misunderstandings.
It can sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've just never, kind of embraced that identity fully.
Okay.
Because I have, not that I've not embraced my identity as a Christian, just as, Christian artist, it's I kind of am, but I kind of am not.
Look at that.
So, yeah, it's a weird thing, because it's like, Andy, you're doing Winter Jam, you make music that's, you're open about your faith. Yes. But I've never felt kind of the same pressure as, the Christian CCM, Christian music artist, because I feel like there's kind of an expectation that if you make that music, then all of your songs have to be about Jesus and explicitly point people to Jesus. And I've just never felt that.
Right.
Well, not never felt that pressure. I haven't felt that pressure in quite some years. I think when I first came out, I was like, oh, I got to kind of prove to people I'm a Christian. You know?
Right.
And then what ends up happening is that your Christianity becomes part of your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And your faith becomes part of your lifestyle, and then it works its way into your music. So if I'm making a song about money or a relationship or anything else, my perspective on God is always going to find its way in there because it's a real part of my life. So it's not, I don't have to have what they would say, like, JPMs, like Jesus per minute, or like go back and prove to anybody, like, because we've also found our own audience, people who live real lives, they love hip hop, and they're trying to walk with God.
Right.
You know, and I think like that's a kind of a unique niche, but it's growing, it's evolving, and we found a market of people that just love that. They want to hear me talk about life. They want to hear me, you know, share my life experiences, because they're like, yo, if I just needed a Christian anthem, you know, I would just turn on CCM radio or whatever.
Right. Well, and I feel like there's more crossover between, you know, artists who are Christians and artists in the Christian industry crossing over to mainstream now. There's a lot of more bleed over, and a lot of times people just look at it as just music now, which is, for me, it's really cool to see that, because that's all I've ever really wanted. You know, growing up in youth groups and stuff, you know, you kind of got laughed at a little bit for listening to, oh, it's Christian rock or it's Christian rap, is it any good? It's like, no, a lot of it's better than the stuff you listen to, man. Check it out. It's good. You know, so I mean, I get that. I understand the negative stigma or connotation that comes with it.
It took a while to get there.
It did.
You know,
it did.
It took a while to get there, but I think it's going, and people are sharpening their craft, and now you can have. Because look, to be honest, there was, you know, music made by Christians was usually a poor man's version of something else that was big out. You know.
Yeah.
And even ironically, it still kind of happens now. Like, the biting is insane. Yeah. But I'm going to get into that. But, I think, you know, you think just sheer numbers, right? Like, the number of people who are Christians who make music is much smaller than the number of people who aren't Christians who make music. And, you know, out of that sample size, you're just not going to get as many great artists. So, unfortunately.
Sure.
But I think it's growing, man. And, like, it's comparable. And now you got artists like Chance. Got artists like Kanye, Justin Bieber, like all these people who are inspired by their faith, and I think the stigma is just kind of going out the window, and it's coming down to like, all right, you just make good music, like, what's going on? Let me listen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like a lot. There's also, I think, a lot more crossover stylistically now too. You have a lot of artists who are using or borrowing other styles of music that they wouldn't normally do, and kind of combining music styles into one, which is really cool. You get a lot of rock and hip-hop combining now, or a lot of rap and country is really combining and getting big right now too, and so it's a really interesting time in music in general, to see all of this stuff kind of happening. It's just very, very interesting. I wanted to ask you though, watching some of the podcast videos, you've worn a couple wrestling shirts. I see the Goldberg, I see the Undertaker. Are you a wrestling fan, man?
Yeah, I grew up watching wrestling heavy. So I would say I'm an active wrestling fan now. And it's like, I don't know who the new guys are and what they do, but I grew up in like the golden era.
The 90s, the Monday Night Wars, the WWF and
WWF, you know, Goldberg, Bret Hart,
DDP, Sting.
DDP, Sting, exactly. So you already know the Dudley Boys.
All
those guys, like, you know, who is it? Goldberg too, Undertaker, Stone Cold, like.
Yes.
Forget about it.
Yeah. So were you a WCW guy or a WWF guy, or were you one of the rare ones that was both?
I definitely wasn't boycotting any of it. I was like, listen, as much wrestling as I can get, because you know they had great characters and they shifted from one company to the next. Now that I'm older, I understand the business of things. It's like changing record labels, you know. It's like, guys are offering a better contract. I'm going over here and I'm gonna bring my followers and fans, and you know, it was great. I watched all of it, but there were seasons when certain guys had more momentum than the other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like when NWO was happening, it was like, wow.
Yeah. Oh, those were the days. It's good now, but it will never, I don't think, ever be as good as it was back then. I mean, I'm an active fan now, but I'm one of those fans that's like, it's good, but I'm sitting there be like, man, in the 90s though, no, this wouldn't have made it. 90s were better. You know, I sit there and just yell at the TV all through Monday Night Raw now because it just isn't as good as it used to be. I wanted.
Yeah, it looks like the characters are like kind of sterile.
Yeah, it's kind of like it was before the Attitude Era, where everything was cartoonish and geared towards kids, which is great because my 7-year-old daughter loves wrestling. But I just remember it was just different back then, man. It was just, you didn't know what was going to happen, and anything could happen, and anyone would show up. And now it's just like you kind of know what's going to happen before it happens, and it's just not as exciting.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
But we talked about earlier, it's been a while since the last full length. You've been busy, but is 2020 going to be the year that we see another full length from Andy Mineo come out, or are we looking more at maybe 2021?
No, that's what we're aiming for right now.
Okay.
We're looking for like a late summer release and a fall tour. So
awesome.
I'm in the studio right now working on another project.
Awesome.
And you know, we're just trying to get it done. You know, I took kind of 2019 off a little bit. My mom passed at the end of 2018, so 2019 was like, you know, I just got to take some time for me and my wife and my family and regroup, you know?
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
2018, I released 2 projects.
Yeah.
You know? Like, here, feed the fans, and then I'll give y'all a podcast and some B-sides for 2019, then we'll come back strong for 2020.
Speaking of fall tours, one of my favorite shows of yours I went to was the show you did here in Indy with Lecrae on Halloween night, like 2, 3, 4 years ago. That was, like, ridiculous. I mean, you guys had the balcony shaking at one point. It was, like, crazy and honestly kind of scary, but awesome at the same time. It was great, man. Dude, so you are coming to Indy. January 18th, you will be here, coming with Winter Jam, also hitting Fort Wayne and Evansville. Winter Jam starts soon. Man, dude, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure. And thanks for being a cool interview.